and adapting, and that always has been one of the strengths of EDG, which they are still carrying to their new roster.
And the question is, will they continue to play around the bottom lane like they used to of the old school EDG? It's certainly been the case when Zet is playing the likes of Jhin, and he has shown a couple of strong Ezreal games, but that bottom lane really doesn't have a lot of setup for the likes of FireLily. If FireLily wants to start snowballing on this Kha'Zix, he's going to look towards his hard CC, look towards Scout, look towards Mouse.
Playing towards that top side of the map could be a window of opportunity for him. It certainly will be challenging to catch that Corki out of position, or even the Jhin who's got a Thresh to save him, so vision going to be huge in this. But as you can see, we have loaded onto the Rift for game number 1 between LGD and EDG. And already you can see how much the teams are respecting each other. PYL sitting in the bush, doesn't want to take any chances, not even going to be waiting and try for this as Imp is hugging his turret.
So there was actually also a boot start from Jhin, I believe, as we take a look at the masteries. Nothing standing out too much there. Fervor for Ezreal so we can get superior trades. Courage of the Colossus for the Thresh. You can proc it on both Death Sentence as well as the Flay. The typical maneuver is you walk up Flay, then get Courage procced, and you can pretty much out-trade anyone with the empowered auto on Flay. This is a cute adaptation, though.
LGD invading to detonate the saplings, but EDG, oh, he took all 3 of those. That is a really late recall. Intruder has to take the camp now. He can't go back. Meanwhile, in the bottom, it seems like PYL took a bad trade as well.
But not a terrible loss there, especially because he's going to get the leash from Funny. Obviously not super ideal, but it draws a lot of time from FireLily, who looks like he's actually going to start enemy red buff. So now the question is, how heads up will Intruder be? Will he immediately walk to red, or is he going to walk back to his camp? You would assume he would trade red for red.
Yeah, he's heading around the far side right now. As Imp also takes a huge hit as he's clearing out these camps. The boot's now going to be helping out by giving him that many more potions.
And down bottom really demonstrates the difference between push priority and trade priority. So a lot of people talk about Ezreal's, weak laning phase because he doesn't itemize into battle stats off initial back since he goes the tier route. But Ezreal Karma have immense trade priority, especially when they get positioning like this, where they can stand on the back of the caster creeps and just outrange you with their Qs. And you can see that PYL and Imp are getting heavily punished for it.
Yeah, this was a bit of a concern for EDG and how they saw themselves. I'm trying to think of an elegant way to say smashed into the ground by RNG.
Blasted?
Yeah, that was not pretty. And it employed a similar strategy of letting the lanes sort of get shoved in to catch them.
The nice thing, though, is that since Imp did go for that boot start, he does have multiple pots, so he will be able to kind of sit and sustain in the lane, not in a super dire situation. But we said, maybe EDG sacrificed pressure control on bottom side by picking the Ezreal, but since level 1 have put themselves in a great position to deny that.
Already Zet and Mako shoving Imp under his turret, nearly double the CS so far as he's just struggling to catch whatever he can. Mako is using the Mantrid Soul Flare every opportunity he gets. Gosh, even the longsword start for even more damage on those Mystic shots. He's
Matrix down here.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like this is one of the things that you try to practice with your friends. Like, hey, I want you to be as mean as possible in the laning phase. And we know Imp has got the mechanical skill to pull this off, and PYL certainly capable of helping him out. But it is going to be a very difficult first few levels. Now in the top lane, you can see Mouse and Funny just farming to their heart's content.
Should be noted that there was an early back from FireLily, so he's already got his Tracker's Knife, whereas Intruder has yet to back. You would assume that he would clean up his full clear and then back. So there's technically a window, should FireLily and Mouse get cute, where they could look top lane and maybe Graves won't be around.
Intruder's actually clearing out his blue right now. Pops the Scryer's Bloom to look for vision in the mid lane. Completely ignoring top as Godv eats another stun. He's got Exhaust, that's Ghost from Scout. Chucks some more damage out. Godv is solo, flashes, but Intruder's there to save him, and that's first blood LGD.
So Intruder isn't there to mingle with the top lane, but he does look for Scuttle and then rotates mid. You saw Scout, he flashes forward. He has to commit once he's seen the Graves, and he just tries to trade 1-for-1, but it's not good enough.
Yeah, does not get the auto attack off. FireLily clearing out his jungle in the meanwhile now will smite away the Raptor camp. And with that first blood onto Intruder, that very strong Graves in this patch could mean some trouble.
Hold on though, Scuffle on bottom as PYL misses every single ability.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to be seeing this a lot. Imp continues to take these hits. Lantern to pull him back. No recall just yet, but Imp is running low on mana and low on health.
And this is the thing, if you just cover up those nameplates, that looks like Deft and Mako. Zet has actually been very impressive in the few games that he has played Ezreal, and again, it's kind of this question, you know, the caliber of opponent, is Zet actually a good AD carry? This is supposed to be the tester for it, and so far, dominating Imp in PYL.
You can see Fire Lolly on your map, looking for a gank in the mid lane. He's waiting just outside of vision, knows Godby has no summoner. Scout just needs to land the Scout of the Week stun. He tosses, but does not quite land it. And Godby continuing to strafe side to side. Finally, Fire Lolly heads back into the jungle.
That moment when they just get bored and the stun finally connects.
Yeah.
Isn't that just the way?
And then Scout is busy saying, I got him now. He's even overextended by Valkyrieing forward. Harasses Scout with a very quick level 6. Chunks him down to 120 health.
Abusing the fact that he did get that EXP advantage since Scout went down early in the mid lane. Unfortunately, doesn't connect with the rocket. And this is,
Scout's trying to bait him behind the turret.
I'm going to say questionable. Is he looking for the Valk?
Here comes Fire Lolly. He's eking around the edge right now. Chucks out the Phosphorus Bomb, but decides to dive on the Scout. Gets the kill, and is going to try to walk away from this Kha'Zix. Not going to be too successful. It's traded back 1 for 1.
But ultimately, he also did force the flash there. And while the wave is pushed forward, Scout is still continuing to hemorrhage and continuing to lose out on this. That said, now that Syndra is level 6, it's not as big as a loss as the fact that Corki got that early ultimate on her, so won't be too terrible on this initial back rotation, but we'll see if he can continue to exploit this.
And meanwhile, Funny is going just as aggressive against Mouse. He's got level 6 as well, and looks like he's going straight for that Haunting Guise. Intruder's making his way up there. Decides to take a quick pit stop at Krugs just for some bonus experience as the minion wave gets shoved in. Equalizer is ready, along with that collateral damage.
Trying to build up possibly a big wave. No, he doesn't have it. Diving this Maokai without such a large wave would be suicide, so I like the fact that they pumped the brakes on it. Think twice, especially as now Fire Lolly is starting to mosey top lane.
Yeah, meanwhile, recall completed in the bottom for PYL. He picks up Moby Boots, and amazingly, Imp still has one, but Intruder face-checking into the red bush. He knows Godfrey's got pressure, and Funny is there as well.
He's level 6. That's suicide for Fire Lolly. I can't believe he would even want to attempt that right now. Graves' burst damage and assassination potential is huge.
As it is, EDG have got to respect it. Level 6, almost level 7 for Intruder, while Fire Lolly is still trying to scrounge around level 5. And even still, Intruder continues to invade as PYL immediately scoops up mid, picks up a few souls, and heads back bottom.
I mean, he's got nowhere to be right now. Might as well kind of mosey mid, see if you can throw out the fish hook and find anything.
Yeah, here you can see some stats between Godby and Scout as they trade back and forth once again.
PYL, go home. You have somewhere to be
he
now.
He can't right now. Imp is only just getting back to that lane with Zed.
He's also will get caught.
Oh, there's an equalizer. Meanwhile, Intruder flash engages onto Scout and demolishes him. That's 2 quick ultimates and a flash to net a kill.
Nice flash so he can get the immediate kick back there from his ability and then finishes it off with the big ult damage. Intruder. We keep asking, you know, why didn't they play this guy to begin with? Yes, Amy has more history with the team because he played with them on the likes of Gamti, but Intruder has just been so phenomenal from day one when he took down Swift and is now kind of making a mockery of Fire Lolly.
Yeah, this is huge right now. 2-0-0. Nearly 23 CS ahead of Fire Lolly on the opposite side. And we always say, LGD play up for EDG. Well, it seems like they're doing it once again.
I will caveat the fact that he has the CS advantage just because he's been taking a lot of Krug camps, and obviously the CS difference between junglers doesn't mean as much as it once did because there's so many extra creeps now on the map between like Raptor camps and Krugs. But you are correct. It's still a big sizable difference, and more importantly, it's the fact that Intruder is picking the right lanes at the right times.
LGD are certainly taking this game very seriously as Intruder's going for a huge buy right now. Fire Lolly finally level 6 and still a level down. Mouse, roaming towards the mid, immediately spotted out by a control ward, tosses a sapling onto another, the vision control for LGD. Looks like they know what they're getting themselves into. They've got wards in mid, wards in river, wards in tri. They've got control of this.
And Fire Lily, the only lane and option that he has left to him on the map are actually this bottom lane. And again, they don't have the hard CC because the Maokai and the Syndra have been put behind, and because he's getting 1v1'd in his jungle, he's pretty much left to try to gank the Dark Passage lane. And immediately you see Imp and PYL just back up and absorb all of Fire Lily's time. He's falling farther and farther behind.
And despite all of that lane pressure, PYL, as he clears out a ward, sees another one go down. Doesn't have a sweeper, tragically. But to continue on that, Imp is keeping up in CS. Despite that pressure lane, Intruder is even following up with PYL, knowing that Fire Lolly is nearby.
And this is when LGD are at their best. They're shot caller, their captain is PYL. If he can get unlocked from this lane, if he can start moving around with the jungle, visiting the mid lane like he's repeatedly doing, it just makes it that much easier to make these decisive calls. And the cool thing is that LGD aren't immediately trying to force a dragon with the equalizer, they force the mid lane. They know that they're naturally winning or surviving the lanes.
They're trying to force a fight right now with these lanes as Intruder makes his way down. Dark Passage is going to help get him close. Exhaust onto Mako. He already used his flash. They're going to try to burst it down, and he goes down to the red buff from Intruder.
And you also saw the fact that Godvi was also making the rotation to get involved, but they don't even need the Corki. And again, it's this idea, they're not forcing the dragon, they know that they're naturally just winning all of the lanes, and so Intruder is continuing to exploit just the individual matchups for EDG. They want to keep EDG here, because they're just going to scale and ramp harder and harder.
Yeah, already you can see a 2,000 gold lead as Imp and PYL are going to try to get some damage. Teleport from behind. Mouse looking to turn this into a fight. Intruder's on the way. Funny has got his own teleport, but is not using it. Imp has got his flash and a heal. Looks like he's going to sacrifice PYL, who stalls it with some crowd control. Play to pull it back, but Funny completes the TP. Gets onto the minions, trying to burn through the Maokai's health, but already he is so tanky. And LGD walk away without losing anyone.
They need to disengage right now, though, because Fire Lily is on his way down river, as well as a refreshed Mako back into the lane. So they may lose a lot of tempo and pressure here if EDG decide to turn on an objective. But with Fire Lily backing, that tells me that all they did was survive LGD's play.
Finally, EDG try to make a play back onto LGD, but as you said, LGD are able to survive, and they walk away without giving a single kill. That's going to shove this minion wave in, but Imp with his Swifties is going to make it right back up there. And even the Mobies plus Dark Passage for PYL means he's not going to miss too many minions as Intruder clears out the rest of this vision. 2,000 gold lead as we get towards that 12.5-minute mark for LGD. They continue to maintain momentum and stymie EDG's attempts to get back in as Intruder. He's actually gonna sneak this.
But this is also the tempo advantage. So again, we had this idea that, you know, EDG, they try to pull the teleport, they try to get Mako back in the lane, and LGD just disengage from them. EDG then don't stagger their backs, they can't place the vision, and immediately tempo is given back to LGD, who are now survived the initial onslaught, came back and make the counterplay. Again, still ahead in this game and still in the driver's seat.
EDG looking for ways to break LGD out. They're hiding just outside of vision. The ward immediately gets dropped and Mako sees it. Just a little inopportune timing despite the play as Intruder spotted at the tri-bush.
Zet is still in trouble. This creep wave is about to crash into the tower. He's doing everything he can just to keep it at bay.
Yeah, keep this Graves away from me. Completed Warriors Enchant is going to do a lot. Meanwhile, Funny trading with Mouse. They've both got their ultimates, but Mouse has got significantly lower cooldown on his. And the Spectre Scowl is going to give him a lot as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all of that MR there. See if he can stall that long enough.
Yeah, meanwhile, they rotate towards the mid lane. Godvi was able to take down that mid-tier 1 with Intruder, that excess AD and Graves damage, pushing Scout back and taking first brick.
And you can surely assume that this means that it's going to start bleeding over towards that bot lane. It's a very low tower to begin with. They have the power of the Gen ultimate. So you see, Godvi Intruder, they've reset themselves on the map. They've made their purchases. They're probably going to push a wave and start disappearing bottom and threatening.
Yeah, first recall in Intruder you can see is already on his way bottom as Godvi. It appears that he picked up the package, so he's got that ready as well.
This is going to delay things, however. Imp and PYL, being a bit greedy, want to take their backs probably close to big items, so Intruder will probably go red, Krugs, finish topside jungle, and maybe then they look for a roam or a contest into a jungle. But this kind of stalls up some of their flow.
Yeah, a little bit of greediness there out of the bottom lane from LGD. With everything prepped and no teleport for another minute and a half for both Mouse and Funny, they could have looked to expand it, but instead, just play it safe.
They're trying anyway. Because again, you can see that they're moving around looking for that triangle vision. It's a question of if they're going to be able to use the package on its timer.
Yeah, it's only got a few seconds left, and it's about to wear off. Godby leaps right on out, as Imp will clear out that final cannon minion. Completed Youmuu's for Imp was the buy, whereas Sightstone was the pickup for PYL.
Not as efficient as it could be for pushing this tower. Again, losing the power of the package to push bottom. They'll get it anyway, but...
Yeah, they're certainly trying. As you said, they've got the triangle vision, wards on wards, and they've got both Godby and Intruder hanging out in between the center, looking for the one vulnerable side. They're both spotted out by wards.
There's also the fact that both teleports are now up from the top laners, so this fight gets that much more contrived and messy when you start calculating in the fact that Maokai and Rumble can also join it, should things break out bottom. And immediately, LGD, they pull off bottom. Again, they lose all of that tempo because of PYL and Imp's back not being able to dive bottom, that they then also lose control over their blue lane, or excuse me, their blue buff.
They do lose the blue buff. However, it is the pressure from Imp and PYL that's finally enough to secure the turret in the bottom lane. Traded for the top blue buff, the excuse me, LGD's blue buff.
Yeah, it was traded for blue, but it didn't need to be.
Yeah. Instead, minor lapses in vision. I mean, even funny using the equalizer on the minion wave. He saw Fire Lolly disappear into the jungle and just assumed he would be dying.
He's gonna get dove anyway unless someone moseys up to help him.
Intruder doesn't see this. He's got the ward and try. Oh, but takes the long way around. His mouse is gonna walk through and spot out the tri-ward. Intruder just hops over the wall. Missed opportunity from EDG as Intruder just ducks out of vision.
But now you have the lane reassignment from LGD coming through. Now Imp, PYL moving up top side, which means that Funny will be moved towards the bottom side. And Zet not pushing back as hard as he could, just kind of took his time with the creep wave. This is now a question of, is Mouse enough to hold off the potential siege from LGD's bot side?
Well, he's trying to complete his recall right now, and with Intruder up there, could very well mean a forced teleport. Yeah, he actually does complete the recall. The minion wave is on its way up there as Intruder helps clear out these Krugs with PYL.
And just a messy rotation is going to cost EDG again.
Looks like EDG are trying to trade on the bottom side. Zet even using the Essence Flux for more attack speed, helping Mako out as they're going to try to take down this turret. Mouse is on his way up there. True Shot Barrage takes the long way across, heading straight for top. Fire Lolly is spotted. But the turret will go down, and LGD are just a step ahead. That tempo advantage coming to fruition.
Question is, what do they do with the tempo advantage? Those few extra key seconds. Because the ultimate from Ezreal came through and killed the creep wave, there's not enough to possibly push through there. I'll even look for a second tower, but they will also take red.
Yeah, that is now all 3 red buffs that EDG have had. Ooh! Nobody saw that pretty well. Hey! Okay, deliberate. He was doing it for the style points. But that's all 3 red buffs taken by LGD on EDG's side of the map. 3 turrets to 1 right now as Godby continues to maintain presence in the mid lane. The wards from EDG are slowly but surely fading off of the map. And with Cloud Drake up in 40 seconds and Baron in another 2 minutes, EDG have got to be sweating.
And really nice pacing for the glimpse of the Void buff right there. You know, the later that you can take the Rift Trail, the longer that you have that buff. The fact that it went on Intruder, so looking for that 1v1 potential on an already very potent and powerful Graze. Edge of Night, Red Smite.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. All eyes on Intruder this game, filling in for Amy and doing some work so far. Now Dragon is up in 4 seconds. EDG are grouped up as 4 and they've got teleport. Looks like they're trying to set up a pick in the jungle and perhaps river as LGD slowly inch their vision forward, but they don't take any chances.
Yeah, if you're LGD, just call this bluff. Let them have the Cloud Dragon and continue to push up. Force them to try to flank you. You're stronger, you're ahead in gold, you're ahead in itemization. I mean, we're still looking for Ezreal's big breakpoints. He's just sitting on the Sheen as well as the Muramana right now.
Recall completing from Mako as LGD continue to shove up in mid lane. They're actually pinging towards the Baron right now. They've got a lot of damage and 1 Mountain Drake, but instead they try to sneak in right on top of a ward. That doesn't even see the entire path. Like, if you hug the wall, that doesn't see the wall.
Wards save lives. That ward is saving so many lives.
Yeah. Because Baron's right about to spawn in 10 seconds. EDG have to know, well, you would assume that that would be EDG's next potential thought.
Of course, LGD go missing on the map. They've got control of the top side of the map. It's the LPL. Everyone rushes Baron at 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, tragic. Instead, they're just going to take the Raptor camp as they get tired of EDG playing patient and safe, now falling back further and further to those tier 2 turrets. LGD continued to try to set up vision and look for opportunities. EYL lands the hook onto Scout. Snare follows up. They're going to try to force this as he eats some huge damage from the collateral shot. And Scout walks away.
But the nice thing is it's not just the fact that they're getting damage laid down in the mid lane, but it's happening at the same time of all of their side waves.
Funny is collapsed upon by EDG. They don't try to fight it mid. They try to fight the solo, the weak appendage, and Funny dies for almost nothing.
But EDG can't gain anything off of that. They have to return to their side waves, reset their map, and so the pressure and tempo is still in LGD's favor. They're going to get chip damage on this mid tower, possibly Zet's life if that death sentence connects.
Yeah, instead just chucking out some rockets, trying to clear out this minion wave. You can see Scout, as you said, in the bottom. Instead, they just get a little bit of chip damage as they continue to utilize Intruder, run him around the map, look for opportunities, but EDG are playing so safe.
But this is kind of the pitfall that this new iteration of EDG have started digging for themselves. It's this idea that when they come into kind of mid-late game, suddenly their decision-making looks quite questionable. You know, they're falling behind. They're being contested on a macro level. We know that Clearlove was a big voice in their shot calling, so who picks up that mantle when Clearlove's not on the roster? Can it be fixed when he returns? Will he return? We know that he's sitting as a sub position, but he's been sitting there for 2 weeks now.
The return of Clearlove, long expected and anticipated, but much like the next Star Wars film, it's not out yet. We don't know. As you can see in the portrait on the bottom right hand of your screen, Mako seems to be the one doing the general shot calling for EDG. He and Zet have been having a very active conversation over the course of this game, looking to keep things mobile. Fire Lolly a little bit more quiet, along with Scout, as they look for opportunities and try to keep themselves safe.
And there is a window for EDG to look for a play on the map. They've got their waves pushing. You can see that Funny's kind of tied up right now with setting up bottom. We saw that Mouse was cheating a bit towards that mid lane, possibly looking for a flank. But both teams are just playing so respectful and with such cohesive vision, you know, of EDG's Raptor ward kind of catching LGD's Baron trap. You've got LGD so much neutral and defensive vision placed throughout the river. They can see every move that everyone's making, and it's drawn out this hiatus and this pause in the middle of the game.
Mouse actually roaming up towards the mid lane with that Cloud Drake as he tries to make use of this. Funny, as you said, with no flash, continuing to try to catch this minion wave that Mouse continues to set up over and over and over. Finally sensing that Maokai could be here, they snuff him out and continue to press their vision.
And now LGD move from defense to offense. They've now got the pushing lanes in both side lanes. Suddenly you see Funny unlocked, and he's going to start looking for plays or moments to use that equalizer, looking for those teleports.
LGD well aware of their plan, trying to slowly but surely whittle their way through EDG's defenses, find an opening. PYL scoops up Intruder and helps clear out a whole heap and helping of vision. But Scout is right there as Fire Lolly sneaks forward. Intruder is caught and has been assassinated. They're trying to open up and answer back with a few kills, but it's going to take a lot more damage. I was wrong. Godby does so much. Mako is running for his life as Fire Lolly is dead, and Scout somehow is surviving. Heal to try to get Imp up there, but Zet on the far wall zones Imp back. It ends up being a jungler for jungle trade.
So LGD look for the offensive trade. Unfortunately, it's not as pitch perfect as you would have wanted it. Intruder getting caught out there, but can you imagine if the jungler had survived? It surely would have meant the Baron, ultimately just the tower.
Yeah, the top tier 2 finally going to be knocked down as LGD are even willing to take damage from the turret to secure it. Here's that play again.
And again, it's just this great setup. You can see what LG are intending to do. Unfortunately, again, good vision from both teams mean that EDG get the jump on them, are able to trade 1-for-1 in the end. But again, it's LGD. They're in the offensive position. They've got the pushing waves. They have more unlocked members, and ultimately just gang up with that pushed wave topside and get something despite the pick.
It Will be a 1-for-1 trade, but the advantage is still in the favor of LGD. 5,500 gold ahead right now. And with the next Cloud Drake up in 20 seconds, they continue to maintain neutral control on that top side of the map, knowing that Baron a much more wealthy prize than that measly Cloud Drake. But that's still not stopping them from trying to utilize this package.
And it's also about utilizing their poke composition. You know, they're really good at sieging towers. They're really punishing if you're standing underneath them. They just need to make sure that they don't kind of funnel in on this big arena like Baron because of the Maokai, because of the Syndra. So I like the fact that they're not being too overzealous with trying to force the purple worm.
Instead, it turns out it was only a feint, sending Godby to the top with that package. He pulls enough attention with Mouse, Scout, and Fire Lolly to keep Intruder and PYL scot-free of the vision that EDG had placed. That's a snuck Cloud Drake, 2-for-1 in terms of dragons between the two. Godby continues trying to clear out this vision here. And we once again resume top laners on the bottom side of the map with both summoners and their ultimates. And LGD pressing in forward, ebbing and flowing into the base of EDG.
But another really good ward, and finally it's spotted out. So LGD actually really strong vision control over Baron. They've cleared out everything.
Yeah, they certainly have. Trying to keep EDG in the area, but they are playing so patient. Mouse is even up there as well, and you can see Funny is grouped up with his team, having walked there previously. There is no vision inside of the pit for EDG. They are just having to trust that this is them. True Shot Barrage actually goes by the front of it.
They do have one more blue trinket on Zet. It's now up and available, so they have kind of one last option or one last play or card to play on the field.
Yeah, seems like they might try to force down this mid-tier 1. They've got a lot of damage at 27 minutes into the game, but Equalizer right on top of them. Scout is separated, and the hook pulls him in. Scout is dead as Funny flashes the wall. His early Zhonya's buys enough time, and LGD turn EDG's play on its head. They continue to chase now, turning onto Mouse. He will sacrifice himself so that he can bring down PYL, but that is not worth support for 2. They continue to harass. Whoa, Fire Lolly narrowly makes it over the wall as Zet tries to zone Godby away, and they continue to harass.
And you know, I threw shade on Funny on the desk, but that was a phenomenal play from Funny, not only in his equalizer, but also in his positioning and flanking. Coming around the corner, immediately using the Hourglass Ball in the Flame Splitter animation there.
Yeah, here's that fight again. Funny up top. Wow.
Hits Equalizer on multiple members, splits up the fight. Scout gets locked up by a death sentence, immediately is deleted, and then it's just the Godby show. Corky doing so much damage at this point in the game. Luckily for EDG, they were able to disengage with the movement speed and self-sufficiency of Kha'Zix, Karma, and Ezreal.
Yeah, and those were the big names who survived that fight. Zet and Mako, still very high health. With that long range, they were able to poke and harass LGD and prevent them from taking anything further. Even if it is 4 members alive against 2 or even 3, at less than half health with an Ezreal, you don't want to risk it for that biscuit.
And you can see in Zet's itemization that he's trying to find some sort of answer to breaking the tankiness, looking for that Bork. See if it matters much for him. It also gives him some nice sustain and pull back as they continue to sit in elongated poking trades.
Yeah, EDG actually shoving up a minion wave up top. Godby's going to spot it out with PYL and Intruder and get dangerously close to face-checking a face full of Syndra. But instead, gets a sweeper over the wall, does not dash. You can take a look at the gold, a full 2,300 gold ahead of his opponent. Intruder is over Fire Lolly. And even in the mid lane, we're seeing a 2,000 gold lead. Really, the only place where it's even is in Zet, keeping pace with him.
But still sitting in between his big itemizations. Does have the Trinity Force power spike, but Ezreal's still not where he wants to be in terms of this game. Nice thing about Easy, though, in this composition is that they don't have a true tank. You know, you've got kind of superficial tankiness in Graves and Rumble, but he'll still do plenty of damage to pretty much everyone on that team.
Yeah, you just saw the quick vision toggle for EDG. They are almost nothing. A couple of wards on the opposite side of the Baron, which are now being cleared out by Godby. A few wards on the bottom side of the map towards the Dragon, the third of which and final Elemental Drake is yet another Cloud. So this game is all about macro. It's all about finding those picks, and the hook finds Fire Lolly. Flash over the wall. Intruder doesn't even wait for the Dark Passage.
And it's just a vision game, like you said. The fact that LGD rinse, wash, and repeat every single time. Deny the vision, wait for a pick to walk in, and they finally get one that they feel confident enough to take the Baron on.
Shot barrage is not enough. Hook is going to find Scout. PYL follows up. He is pinned against the wall next to that equalizer, the 4th bullet. Oh, what a shot is going to hit. Zet will face the chase from the graveyard as Mako tries to retreat, but Godby fires yet another bullet. He's got a rocket ready, and Mako makes it away in time.
You know, I made the joke that if you covered Zet's nameplate in lane, that you would think that it was Death. If you cover Funny's nameplate right now, you would think that is Acorn. This looks exactly like 2015 LGD when they were on the rise. Great side wave management, incredible vision control, and expert team fighting.
That's 2 inhibitors down as Fire Lolly tries to force the fight with Mouse, but Exhaust is going to knock down that tree as Mako sidesteps for his life and survives. 2 inhibitors are dead. And despite this, LGD with the Baron buff, they're still staying for a little bit longer. Finally, they decide to back away.
They've learned their lesson. I think I've seen that play a few too many times. LGD walking in front of a Jhin ultimate comes to mind. But look at this. PYL gets the hook, and then he tries to flash to save himself. Yes, he ultimately dies, but like, where has this PYL been all my life? Where has that imp been all my life? Where has LGD been for the last 2 years?
That's always the question. LGD, roll a dice. Sometimes it's a 20, sometimes it's a 1.
But the thing is it's a 20 in week 4. And we had, probably I'm going to give them a 15 last week. Normally it takes LGD like 8 weeks to kind of remember that they care enough to make playoffs or they don't want to be automatically relegated. Like, this is such a breath of fresh air if you're an LGD fan. They went over Chinese New Year. They found a coach. It seems to be working. Their drafts are no longer just random, and they're executing on the drafts.
Yeah, they're taking now the final elemental Drake of the game, a second cloud for themselves. And as 5, not even waiting for the opportunity, they push the minion wave and immediately start working on this final tier 2 turret. It is demolished so very quickly. And with the next minion wave hot on their heels, LGD are poised to siege this final inhibitor.
They just need to be patient, and again, it's kind of onus on EDG. They have to do something. They know that the super creep waves are going to crash in mid and top, so can LGD just continue the dance? Can they just be patient, or will EDG try to force something?
They're using the cannons now as LGD are slowly but surely whittling down that turret. Rapid fire cannon for him, plus all that raw AD and lethality is going to help him. Hook over the wall, misses set. As the super minions continue to flood into their base. Here comes the next minion wave in about 5 seconds.
I mean, the saving grace for EDG, if they pulled off a miracle save here, would be for Scout to lock down multiple members. But if they keep sending the Syndra to clear out the waves, they don't have that potential.
Yeah, this is it. Flash engage from Mouse. He's going to try to force this. Stun finds him, but he is almost certainly dead. Yes, he does, in fact, go down to Mouse as Scout survives the burst from Intruder and flashes away with his life. True Shot Barrage to try to get some commensurate damage off the back of Mouse's death, but it is 4 versus 4, and Baron's still up for another 20 seconds.
I mean, Scout found one target, Imp, but it wasn't enough because Godby is still massive on Corki.
Oh, they're forcing the engage onto Zet. Early Zanya's from Funny, but Fire Lolly's right there. He flashes back, and Intruder still does work to these turrets. So too does Godby. The triple marksmen are working down these turrets. Nexus number 1 falls. Fire Lolly and Mako trying to keep the minions away from the turret to buy them time, but they just don't have enough. Hook onto Zed, pulls him in, and he is dead. That's Godby chasing back, getting something, whatever he can, as Fire Lolly actually trades it back over. But Intruder is on the Nexus. Scout is going to try to burst him down, but Intruder kites it out, and LGD, in commanding fashion, take game number 1 against EDG.
And that is Team 1 from Group B, dropping to Team 4 in Group A. I mean, we make the joke all the time. LGD, they could theoretically be the best team in the LPL on the day that they decide to be, and I guess today's that day.
Yeah, joining us on the desk once again is Mr. Raz. So, what do we see?
Yeah, I mean, it always seems like LGD versus EDG always turns into that game. Yeah. Always turns into that series. And this time around, LGD played that so phenomenally. We didn't see Intruder up until now. It seemed like they settled onto Amy, but the moment Intruder comes back in, handles that Graves, and he's able to take control. He was so fed that game. Damage chart didn't show, but the control against Fire Lolly was there.
And it's not even just Intruder. 100% agree, but you can go on a tirade about Godby in that mid lane on the Corki doing sick damage, Amps pulling off sick plays, Funny on Rumble. I know, again, I threw shade at Funny on the desk. That dude showed up that game.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest focus for me, you mentioned at the very beginning, Godby. Godby really took control of that matchup alone. And so, I mean, it came into a point where he had that 1v1 duel. He exhausted him at the last moment. It flashed away. And then we saw Graves pick up that kill, and that's really what started that ball rolling. And really that pressure pulled into the bottom lane where Zed and Mako were doing really well. They were able to take control of that, but suddenly they couldn't pressure anymore, and Firelolly really couldn't take any control in the bottom lane. And so they lost, EDG lost control of both jungle and mid, and they couldn't really do anything in the bottom lane. So that was worrying for them, but that was great coming out of Godby and Intruder.
Yeah, and I remember asking you guys before the game started, what's going to be the decider? What's going to determine how this match goes? And a lot of our focus was on that bottom lane. EDG seemed like they had it prepared with Zet and Mako really just shoving Imp in forever, but then Intruder just took off.
And that's the thing, you know, we said LGD have this tendency that they play forward in their lane. EDG have this tendency that their bot lane at least plays very forward in the lane. And so it would come down to the junglers, you know, who was actually going to execute on the gank. And none of them went bottom, but Intruder just decided to just punch Firelolly repeatedly in the face. And then that meant that Firelolly, even if he went bottom, if Intruder was there, they would automatically lose. So like Raz is saying, like, just losing in the jungle lost the entire map for EDG.
Yeah, even though there was a point where LGD started to trade in terms of like they sent Thresh to the top side of the map because they had priority. I didn't like it too much because then suddenly EDG can start trading objectives, trading towers, starting to get gold for themselves. It opened a lot for LGD once they got all the outer turrets down, and so they can set up for the pick that Thresh was looking for. So that was great in the sense that it was a bit of a risk, starting to give EDG some gold so they can actually utilize their composition, but it worked out for them.
I definitely agree with you. I think that there was kind of efficiency questions there. You know, you talk about kind of the delayed back for the play bottom from LGD, that rotation top where they traded top tower for bottom tower. But again, it's like, it was still good. There are windows where they can tighten it up a little bit, but I like the fact that by trading top tower for bottom tower, it then led into top vision, which they immediately tried to pressure Baron over.
Yeah,
and that was a big point. I guess just looking at it, I would be so surprised if PWL doesn't become the MVP here. I'd be super surprised because I felt like, okay, Godby, you know what? Never mind. Just kidding.
Are you still surprised?
I'm not surprised.
He had a pretty stellar performance as well. 4, 2, and 7 was able to more than keep pace of Scout in the mid lane. 35% of his team's damage.
I guess it was a team thing. I was kind of like focusing on PYL because he got a lot of key hooks in there. But you know what? Everyone did. I felt like Funny was able to get a lot of key ultimates, and then you saw Godby not only playing incredibly well as the game went on, but in the early part of the game, he was able to take it off. So I think we're going to show the replay. A big point for LGD was, I mean, it came off that Baron fight, and it came off the pick that started it off. They had so much control. Firelolly had to go out to get some vision, and he got blown up because, you know what? Graves is a beast at this point in the game. And so this is a free Baron, and guess who rears their head? They have no vision to come in there. PYL is able to get the hook, and that's it from that point forward.
But an LPL team that is able to play Baron correctly.
Yeah.
We've seen so many fumbles in this region where they just don't set up vision correctly, they don't set up side waves correctly, and like that's the biggest thing for me. LGD, every single time they were contesting vision, all of their side waves were pushed. It forced EDG to pull some of their members out, so they knew that when they were contesting the vision or laying it down, it would come to a number disadvantage fight for EDG.
Yeah, and that even comes back to the earlier point about LGD trading those objectives earlier on, so they were able to get all those outer turrets
control.
Down. Exactly. So then they invested in that control. They got that control in the top side jungle, and they were able to hit on it. And so that was the reward that they were able to get from it.
Yeah, and again, the fact that they were trading a tier 1 for a tier 1, their third turret that they had already taken for the first one that EDG could take. Even when EDG tried to rotate towards the mid lane and take down the tier 1, the fact that LGD were able to collapse and then take another fight and just reset their vision around the Baron, this is LGD playing up.
And this is multiple teams doing it as well. We saw this from WE and Invictus Gaming yesterday. Now we see it from LGD. It's very clear that the LPL teams were practicing while we had the downtime for IEM. And I have to say, as someone who just came back from IEM, it is a breath of fresh air to see a team play a side wave. Not even joking. The LCK teams were laughing backstage because they're like, no one's playing sideways. We'll just play sideways and win the game. Ultimately, G2 got the last laugh, but this has been a huge problem on an international stage, and I'm shocked to see my region get it right.
Yeah, I think funny, even though it was great to see him doing that, sometimes he would kind of fall in terms of trying to take shortcuts to the jungle and just getting caught out. But the fact that they're making those moves, fantastic.
It certainly is. We'll hope that the second game is fantastic as well. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back as we get ready for game number 2.